Obviously, Lori is here from straight off of her bike. Oh, Lori, what's going on? I love it. Look at
Oh,
you in the
dude,
helmet and glasses and
I
everything.
finally got out for a bike ride today. It was
Oh,
awesome. A little muddy
so
and
good. Tell me,
cut
where'd you
it a little
go?
close.
Where'd you
I
go?
went
What'd
to
you
the
do?
forest of Nicene Marks, which is a few miles from my house, and we've had so much rain here in California. We don't ride mountain bike trails in the rain, but we can ride the fire roads. So I did
Sweet.
about a 1,300 foot climb, ran out of time, had to get back. And it was just awesome to smell the forest and get all muddy and had just enough time to wipe off and have a big dent in my forehead from my helmet. So we decided to
Oh,
put my
cool. Are
helmet
you going
back
to leave
on.
the helmet on for the whole briefing just to
Sure.
cover the dent? I love it. I should go
Yeah.
get mine. I feel kind of left out. I actually didn't ride today because I did ride yesterday and I rode the day before. And on Tuesday, I actually hooked up with a neighbor of mine. This guy is like on another level from me. When I first moved here, my driveway's at the top of a hill. And I'm like, oh, well, I need that KOM. That's my hill. So I went out and took a week or two and got that KOM. But then this guy, my neighbor, I won't say his name, but he came and stole the KOM back.
Of course.
And so
The
I went
next
out and
day.
took it back and he did. So we eventually became friends, but this was our first ride together after living here for
Yeah.
3 years. He's like, oh, now the volume that he does, he rode 20 hours last week. This
Yeah.
guy, he's my age, like he's old enough to know better, but still huge volume guy. And we got on a ride together and it was a planned like hold zone 2 for 2 hours. Well, it ended up being 2.5 hours and he was just using it up as a lead up to his big ride today. I had to come home and take a nap yesterday. I was like, whoa, I'm just not ready for that too. I mean, yeah, I can do, I don't know. It's just a lot. So
Yeah.
the thing is, a couple takeaways from that actually is riding with him while I was out there. One of the things I asked him was what was in his water bottles because I didn't see him eating anything. And sure enough, he had 90 grams of carbohydrates of a mixture that he has. He just has it ready. 90 grams of carbohydrate in each water bottle. So, Brian would be very happy. That was his exact number. And so, yeah, he was fueling along the way. I had, I go out for an hour and a half. A lot of times I take a Cliff Bar. I think I mentioned in my little talk with Brian, I just grab something out of my daughter's snack drawer and go for it. But if you ride 2.5, 4, 5 hours, most rides, yeah, you got to have some compounds at the ready and put it together. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Well, in
anyway,
winter is challenging because you don't feel that need to drink or eat as much. And or it may be harder to get in the pockets in your jersey and you can't get to your food. So you really have to plan things out and make sure you don't find yourself stuck out there without calories and feeling dehydrated. So eat before you're
exactly.
hungry, drink before you're thirsty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well
Yeah.
said. Well said on that. And then the other takeaway was just the goal setting type of thing. And I don't have any plans or aspirations to go back to the level of 10, 12 years ago, or to ride the same volume as this guy. But I do want to do a little bit more. I think you and I talked last week about some events coming up, and I would like to feel like I'm competitive. And to do that, I do need some 2.5, 3.5 hour rides. So kind of a progressive nature. And that was helpful for the goal setting. And so speaking of goal setting, we talked about goal setting last week, and I did put a post out there and to get everybody involved. Man, go into the Facebook group and check out my post. I did pin it to featured, and I just want to give some shout outs to people. But please go in and read through it. It's motivating. It reminds us that we're a team. It's awesome. Just go in. I think there's 42 people have put in there, but thank you, Megan Rose, Bob Cucaro, Tracy Henry. Tracy, we got you. Read her comments. Victoria Fuller, Shannon Douglas, Aaron Witherspoon, Rachel Sebin, uh, Rob Harner, Jonathan Pincus. Jonathan, I need to get you a hat, buddy. You need a Team Wilpers hat for your post. First of all, he did awesome, but he segued us right into the pedaling technique, which we're going to talk about afterwards. But I want to. I've actually been emailing with Jonathan a little bit about some other things, but he's doing a charity event coming up, the Cycle for Survival. If you haven't heard of it, it's a benefit for breast cancer and MSK, Sloan Kettering, where my wife was also a patient and is friendly with the doctors and everything there. So um, he is doing a ride this weekend. He did ask if he could post on our Facebook group asking for money, which I did kind of say no to because I think we would all be asking for money. But if you want to help support him, post up in the Facebook group, or see if he can help you get a link to that. And he's doing awesome. That's a awesome cause, and he's excited about it. He's been asking questions, so just wanted to show him some support in that. And to get there, he's following the challenges, and this week is no different. So week 2 workouts. Let's get into them, Lori. What are the Peloton classes for next week?
Well, there's more than one or two or three. As we found out this morning, there was a switch that didn't get turned on the app. So thanks everybody for the heads up on that. I like to think of this as kind of, let's get this party started. So we're going to add some intensity for the first time this week. We'll start out with a nice, easy Power Zone ride on Monday, or Power Zone endurance ride. Are we Power Zone? No, we're Power Zone on Monday, but a shorter ride. And folks
Shorter,
were
right?
asking, why are we going shorter? It's challenging if you're doing 2 longer rides on the weekend to jump back in on Monday. So we're trying to give you something a little easier. Typically, when we train for outdoor events, we have our longer rides on the weekend, and Monday is traditionally a day off. So let's see how this goes. We're going to give you just a shorter ride, but a little more intensity just to perk the legs up. So we've got that on Monday. Then we're going to do another Power Zone ride, 45-minute ride following that. And then we ease back into our endurance for the rest of the week. So we've got another 45, an hour 15, and then an hour. And
Woo-hoo.
yeah, so total TSS for the week, about 287. So building up from last week.
Yeah, do you remember what it was last week? It was 250, 220, something like that.
Yeah,
So
so a
definitely more
nice
intense.
gradual
Yeah.
increase.
Ooh, I
Now,
saw
for
some.
folks who have
Yes.
been adding in some endurance, we've had a lot of questions about, I want to do more. And that's good, but we want to remember that when we're progressing, we have to continue that progression to be effective. So if you're adding on a little bit of endurance to any of these days in the first week, try to add that on in the second week as well. So we want to keep that increase going. Some of you are at a higher volume, and that's great. So especially those of you training for outdoor events.
And plan to add on in week 3 as well, no? So add
Exactly.
on week
Yeah.
1, add a little more in week 2, a little more in week 3. So you could be progressive both in intensity but also in volume, and then
Yeah.
earn the recovery week that comes in week 4,
Exactly.
right?
And that's super important. As you said, Greg, going out and doing a longer ride, it's very different than being on the Peloton for 45 minutes. So for
Oh
those of you who
yeah.
have some big goals, this is a time to get a little extra endurance in.
Yeah, yeah, cool. So, and post up if you have those goals. But tell us what
Yeah.
events you're doing, everything. That is so much fun to see everybody
Oh,
getting
yeah.
out and doing things and using the Peloton in this class to get ready for it.
Yeah.
So, all right, for my no class option, Monday you're following my timers. I've got 8 minutes at 85% of FTP 3 times. Okay, 24 minutes at straight up zone 3, 85%. Wednesday, you've got 13 minutes at 91% or sweet spot, 2 times. So 26 minutes at sweet spot. That one's gonna be tough. Saturday, those are both 45-minute rides. Saturday is an hour and 15-minute ride. We have 5 minutes at sweet spot 5 times. Okay, so took it a little easy on the duration of sweet spot, but yeah, you'll get your fair share of it. Now I did screw up. The timer will tell you the first interval is at 87%. Go for 90 if you can remember that first interval on Saturday. They should just all be 90% or sweet spot, and find a good rhythm there. So Thursday and Sunday are 45-minute rides, and Thursday I went with my typical 80-70%. So we're all these numbers are percentages of FTP, and you can find that right on your screen if you're on a Peloton. You can pull up percentage of FTP, right? And then a couple of people were posting, and we were talking kind of behind the scenes, like who is riding off of a Peloton, who's riding a smart trainer. And I piped up that the timers would probably be really kind of barbaric for a smart trainer. It's like the Stone Ages. So if we can provide that file, we will do so. Not for week 2, but for week 3. I think John said that we can
Yeah.
get those in there. And so sit tight, and thank you all for being patient as we figure out what works and try different things, but at the same
Yeah.
time give you a good plan. Sunday next week is my favorite. Just straight up 75% of FTP. It's a 45-minute ride, so do a warm up. Then you're just holding steady. 75%. You get a lot of bang for your buck for that. And so while you're doing those rides, and while I'm pedaling with my neighbor, if I get out there with them, man? Speaking of getting the most bang for your buck, pedal technique,
Yeah.
and there's a lot you can do, even though it looks like it's a circle, right? Pedal circles. I used to hear that all the time, pedal circles, and that was the extent of somebody's prescription for how to pedal form.
Yeah.
And so hopefully there's more to it. And so, man, I'm really glad you're here to help me through this. So it's not pedal circles. And if you start at the bottom and work your way up, like what can you walk us through real quickly? Maybe some tips on pedaling form and technique and setup.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm
Awesome.
not going to talk about what we usually talk about. People talk about what muscles are working at what part of the pedal stroke and how to deload and preload and all that. And I want to start just with a really basic comment, which is we don't pedal with our feet.
What?
And let's let that sink in.
Okay.
The foot is the conduit. Just like we don't throw a ball with our hand, we wind up, we use our torso, we extend our arm, we have follow through. We don't pedal with our feet. So what are we using if we're not using our feet to pedal? We're using the big muscles in the upper part of the leg. And then all the little muscles are working to stabilize us as well. And
Sweet.
so, yeah, it's a big takeaway. And I think a lot of folks, especially those new to cycling, really think it's all about the feet. I'm pushing with my feet. And yes, I want to create muscle tension. We need to understand what that feels like, that sensation that my muscles are working and that I'm putting force into them. But it's not about the feet. It's about the muscles, the glutes, the hamstrings, the quads. Yeah. So how does it start? Where does the foot pedal interface come into play? And I would say it really starts with your cleat position. And we've seen huge changes on this front in the bike fit world. We used to position our cleats really far forward and everyone was pedaling kind of like this. I remember when I started, someone was like, I can see the bottom of your foot when you pedal. Yeah, of course you can. Because, yeah. So our cleat was here and it forced us, this fulcrum point forced us to push down into the pedal. And what does that do? It puts a lot of stress on the foot, the ankle, the lower leg, and the knee. So for those of you who have some knee discomfort, even if it's not pain, it's just that sensation of being overused after you finish these rides, the first place I would look is, where is your cleat position? So if I bring my cleat back toward the midfoot, what do I have? A better fulcrum point. I can be heel up, I can be heel down, and then I can utilize the posterior chain of muscles so I can get the glutes and the hamstrings to work. Yeah.
That first that first position with the toes down almost reminded me of people who walk in high heels all the time, and your calves just get incredibly tight, and tight calves can pull on the back of your knee and just screw up the alignment, and your knees don't like that when your calves are tight, especially when you're trying to do an athletic exercise like pedal, or maybe it doesn't hurt on the bike, but you get off the bike and try and walk regular flat foot, and your knees are going to be screwed. So,
or you can't do a squat without your heels lifting. Every PT I always worked with before I started running. When I started running, I started working on my calves. And that was only 4 years ago. So I had really, really, really tight calves. And every PT, every physical therapist, every trainer that I worked with said, oh, it's like you're walking around with 4-inch heels all the time. Because my calves were that tight, I could not and my pedal stroke improved as well as soon as I was able to work on that flexibility there. So as we talk about, we use the term ankling. It's a little controversial, but right. So going through my pedal stroke and having the ability to be heel up or heel down when I do it. So,
like it
is just mechanics, right? So I've got a fulcrum point. I've got 2 levers as well. Well, I guess the foot's a lever too, but the lower leg and the upper leg. So it's just mechanics. Now that means I have to be set up in the right position, and my posture on the bike has to be correct as well. So my pedal stroke is really affected by my posture. I would say as a rider, pay a little bit of attention to where your torso is and how that affects your power output. So if you sit up and take a drink or blow your nose or whatever we do while we're sweating, and notice that your power output is probably going to go down. And as I hinge forward at the hip, my power production is going to go up because I'm able to engage that posterior chain. So Greg indulged me for a moment. I'm going to hop on the bike and just show you two quick things. And I would say if you have a hard time with the posture on the bike, especially if you find that the saddle is uncomfortable when you're in a good place, look at the saddle, not the tilt of the saddle, but look at the saddle itself. So you can always change the saddle on your Peloton just like you can on your outdoor bike. I ride the same saddle on my Peloton that I do on my outdoor bike as well. It works for me. And I
That's
do
been game
really
changing for a lot of people that I
ridiculously
work with
long
as
rides.
well. Yeah,
Yeah.
game changing to get rid of that Peloton original saddle and move
It's not
on to.
terrible, but it's squishy, and as we know. So before I get on the bike, if I have a challenge with my pedal stroke, what am I going to do? I'm going to stand next to my bike, and this is an easy one. I want you just to go into a little squat. So I think about driving my hips back,
Yeah.
and you'll notice I'm angular here. I'm not tucking my pelvis under and then reaching for the bar like a C. I look like a V. So that's
Yep.
my goal. And when I mount my bike in my seated position, I also have that forward pelvic tilt. So I'm able to ride very comfortably like this. This isn't as fun as it was being in the forest a few minutes ago.
I was
But
just gonna say it's not. I know you have your helmet on, but maybe you overkill.
right. So where am I pedaling? Right here. And as I come over the top of the pedal stroke, what I think about is driving this heel down. So I'm driving down, I'm driving forward, not through the toe, through the heel. That's kicking in the glutes and the hamstrings. So nice, easy pedal stroke if I'm sitting more upright or more power production here. So just a nice hinge in the hip. And
Oh, I love it.
then,
That looks great.
yeah, sorry, I cut myself off. As I stand, my pro tip is this. Think about driving your knees up to the handlebar. So it's not about heavy resistance. It's not about pushing down. I'm just pulling up toward the bar. And that's how I keep that high cadence, the high output. If I want more, hips go back a little bit, torso comes down, but I'm just driving. So that's my pedal stroke.
That is awesome. I can't reiterate enough the pelvic tilt part and having your glutes engaged. Like that is game changer. Yeah. A squat that is awesome though. That's perfect. I spent a whole career in the gyms teaching people how to squat, which is
right.
Yeah, move your hips back first, right?
Yeah.
And
Well,
not
and
your
it's
knees
interesting.
forward.
When we do our assessments with the Bike Fit program, we ask people to squat, and a lot of them do this.
Most of them go
They
straight
don't
down.
move their.
Yeah.
I can't even do it. They go straight down, and their knees go forward, and
Yeah.
I can't do it. It would kill me. But
No, don't
yeah,
do it. No, that makes my knees hurt just to think
I
about
know.
it.
It's a very powerful tool, though. So if you have a hard time attaining the proper posture on the bike, do a couple squats, use a mirror, use a video camera so you can see what your form looks like. And then
Yeah.
don't think about your feet. Let the bike pedal you if you have to. It's all coming from up here.
I like it. Pedal technique. I'm gonna do
Yeah.
another post in a day or two. We're gonna let everybody think it over, and if there's questions or anything, post up. But I want to do another discussion, and there are a lot of smart people in this
Yeah.
team and community, and I want their tips as well on pedaling technique. And I can't wait to see what comes out of that. But for the most part, that's our spiel for tonight. And this is week 2. We're getting into it. I love it. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with our technical difficulties and our our weaknesses over on that side as far as getting the workouts out. We have an awesome plan. I'm still very excited about the whole training plan, and so stick with us and let us know how it's going. And thanks to everybody. Lori, thank you so much. That is awesome.
Super fun.
Yeah. All right, cool. Bye, everybody.